Looksmaxxing influencer Clavicular has been hospitalized after a suspected overdose. TMZ broke the story on April 14th, 2026, and the details are deeply concerning. The 20-year-old streamer, whose real name is Braden Peters, was reportedly taken to a hospital in an incident that sources describe as drug-related. Specific details about the substance involved have not yet been confirmed publicly. For those unfamiliar with Clavicular, he rose to fame in 2025 through his extreme looksmaxxing content on Kick and TikTok. Looksmaxxing is an online movement focused on maximizing physical appearance through any means necessary. Peters took the concept to its absolute limits. He has openly admitted to injecting himself with testosterone since the age of 14, using crystal methamphetamine to suppress his appetite and stay lean, and performing a practice called bone smashing, which involves hitting your own facial bones with a hammer in the belief that they will grow back stronger. There is no scientific evidence supporting that claim whatsoever. By early 2026, Peters had become the most recognizable figure in the looksmaxxing world. The Atlantic called him the newest star of the movement. Rolling Stone labeled him a premier figure. He was earning more than $100,000 per month from his Kick live streams alone. He even walked the runway at New York Fashion Week for designer Elena Velez. On the surface, it looked like a meteoric rise, but beneath the viral clips and brand deals, a pattern of reckless and dangerous behavior was building at an alarming pace. The timeline of events in 2026 alone tells the story better than anything else. In late December 2025, a live stream clip showed Peters appearing to hit a man with a Tesla Cybertruck in Miami-Dade County. The video spread everywhere. He was banned from Kick over the incident. Then in January 2026, a video surfaced of Peters alongside Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, and the Tate brothers, all singing along to an anti-Semitic Kanye West song at a Miami nightclub. The incident drew condemnation from the mayor of Miami Beach, and several club owners banned the group from their venues. February brought his first arrest of the year. Police in Scottsdale, Arizona detained Peters after he attempted to enter a bar using a fake identification card. During the arrest, officers found 2 loose prescription pills in his pocket. One was identified as Adderall, a controlled stimulant. The other was Anavar, an anabolic steroid. He had no prescription for either. Officers also found a fraudulent identification card in his wallet that falsely listed him as over 21. He was booked on charges of possessing a forged instrument, using a fake ID to enter a liquor establishment, and possession of dangerous drugs. Just days later, despite the arrest, he walked in a looksmaxxing themed runway show in New York City. March was no calmer. On March 26th, Peters was arrested again, this time in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The charge was misdemeanor battery and criminal conspiracy to commit battery. According to the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, Peters had instigated and live streamed a physical fight between his girlfriend Violet Lentz and another young woman at an Airbnb near Orlando. Investigators determined that Peters had deliberately provoked the confrontation and posted it to social media to exploit both women involved. Then came the alligator incident. While cruising through the Florida Everglades on an airboat during one of his streams, Peters pulled out a handgun and fired multiple shots into a dead alligator floating in the water. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission opened an investigation. Peters later claimed his tour guide had given him permission, but the video caused widespread outrage online. April started with yet another dangerous incident. On April 2nd, during day 20 of his 30-day MOG World Order streaming marathon, Peters agreed to let fellow influencer Andrew Morales put him in a chokehold at a nightclub. Within seconds, Peters went completely limp. When Morales released the hold, Peters let out a deep gasp and his body slumped to the floor. His friends rushed to turn him on his side and his body began convulsing. The shaking lasted for several tense seconds before he slowly regained consciousness. One of his friends told him to never do that again. Peters responded by calling it the craziest thing ever and later posted on social media that the clip had gone, in his words, giga viral. Fellow streamer Adden Ross publicly urged Peters to take his health more seriously after the chokehold incident. It does not appear that the advice was taken to heart. Just days later, on April 1st, Peters abruptly ended his livestream. Rumors circulated that authorities had shut him down over the alligator investigation, but his representatives told TMZ the real reason was that he was feeling unwell with flu-like symptoms. On April 13th, footage aired from a 60 Minutes Australia interview in which journalist Adam Hegarty asked Peters about his connections questions to Andrew Tate and whether he identified as an incel. Peters refused to engage with the question, denied that Looksmaxxing had anything to do with incel culture, and walked off the set. And then on April 14th, TMZ reported that Clavicular had been hospitalized following a suspected overdose. Given everything that has come before, this latest development is alarming but not surprising. Peters has publicly discussed using testosterone, crystal methamphetamine, Adderall without a prescription, anabolic steroids, beta blockers, and various peptides. He has described himself as a lab rat for the Looksmaxxing community. He was found with controlled substances during his Arizona arrest. He has admitted that years of steroid use left him infertile by the age of 19. What makes all of this especially troubling is the audience watching it unfold. Peters has built what has been described as a huge and growing Generation Alpha boy following. These are children and young teenagers absorbing the message that injecting unregulated substances, smashing your own bones, and using methamphetamine are acceptable paths to self-improvement. Clinical psychologists have warned that the Looksmaxxing trend is driven by a dark undercurrent of nihilism that ultimately leads to self-destruction rather than genuine personal growth. As of this recording, details about Peter's current medical condition remain limited. What is known is that a 20-year-old who has spent years publicly pushing his body to dangerous extremes is now in a hospital after a suspected overdose. The story is still developing, and this channel will provide updates as more information becomes available.